Well, here we go once again, my friends. Habits here, and we have another action-packed and exciting Above the Nether episode. Hopefully, we got Buzzy Bees. I don't think they're going to come into play too much for this one, but do love the bees. So, what do we got going? Well, I think we had just we swapped out our pick at one point. It kind of blurs together, but we're basically dropping off all this granite. Yeah, brand new pick. We got this side and part of that edge over there to finish up on the granite, and from there, we'll see how long that takes. How much we have left when we do get done, and how we want to proceed. I'm kind of tempted to leave netherrack or fill holes for any of the area, and then get another ring of granite in place before we kind of switch into gathering mode again. But we'll see. There's a weird kind of plopping sound effect there. I don't know what that was all about. Alright, this was one of the holes that we'd filled. So having done all this work, some of this bit should go. There's a little skelly activity somewhere. I think we're still clear here. Let's go ahead and place these. This is where where it gets a little bit dicey. Because in other places where we didn't have the blackstone, like the end up ahead of us there, we've actually got netherrack. So it's kind of like, okay, whatever. We'll get back and fill that in. But this is going to be one of those places where it's just left open, and I don't think I'm going to fill those with netherrack or anything. That feels a bit like we're just kind of wasting our own time. Here, I think we will just trim those down. And I'm very much thinking, at least on this outer part, and maybe a single row of blackstone, and then more of the granite, and then maybe we get more complex with the pattern as we go in. Another thing that we need to, I really haven't even bothered, I mean, it's in the back of my mind, but I haven't really bothered to think too far about it. We are wider than the dimensions of the portal, and do we want to make use of that in whatever pattern we use for the floor, walls, anything like that, just to kind of celebrate rather than making it look like a oversight. Woo! Excuse me. And in the past, like I think the last one we built together, I did just make it just as wide as it needed to be, no more. But I kind of like the idea of more spawning areas. One of the reasons why I decided to just go wider. We'll see how that all plays out. It's kind of part of the fun of trying new things. Alright, so we get some more light along here. Got a new friend. I will say this. After having done the bullseye advancement, if you're ever struggling with your archery, go actually use one of the targets and practice. It will help at least. At least it'll make whatever you're aiming at seem a whole lot bigger. Obviously, there's the challenges of motion and all that kind of stuff. And I'm no ace archer or anything like that, but I think that's worthwhile. All right, now. Boop. Getting there, getting there. Think we had already ensured that one didn't have an overhang. That's why we don't jump or look very carefully. Seriously, I have a full stack of quartz? Alright, let's go back and reload. Or re-unload, I guess, is more accurate. Go ahead and drop those two. Yeah, I think we still got plenty of granite. Oh, I did it again. I did it double. Who's here? Maybe we can get up through here. Or not. That was not my finest. It was, double check everything. And then for these guys, we know we're going to be back through here. So just fill in the floor a little bit. How did I guess I went back to the quartz? Oh, we were going this way when we when our inventory filled, right? Oh, goody. Yeah, now I'm much more scared to take my eyes off these blocks underneath. whole lot of granite. But this will, when finished, this section will wrap up this whole ring of blocks. I shouldn't waste my time setting those, or picking those back up. Alright, getting there. Alright, let's get torches going, since I think we've got fairly definitive that the skeletons, at least, are going to be light sensitive on spawning. And the fact that the ghasts are not are what's going to make this work really well. Holes. All right, so we should have a pink ring all the way around. Let's get reset here. And feels a little crazy, but let's grab more of those. And we still do have a lot. So I'm feeling a single row of blackstone here. That we'll just leave as another rack for now. There we go. It's kind of suicidal to just sprint. I mean, we're not gonna die in theory if we do drop, but counterproductive. How about that? A little less drama. Alright, so here we get a ring. It's gonna be nice to get where some of this inner, it's like a it comes so fast. Wow. Like one of those hollow chocolate Easter bunnies, you know, there's like the solid ones, and then there's the ones that are like a chocolate shell. And it's a bit what some of this may be with these open areas. That'll speed us through a little bit. You gotta hang more stuff, so it may be a little slower on the placing, but overall it's less tool wear. Okay, got a corner. I think this is pretty solid. Not just gonna go sprinting, but and already that's getting more manageable in terms of the short sides are feeling shorter. And before too far, or before we get too far, may want to measure those ends to see whether we have a 2 or a 1 block center and where our portal would align into that, so we can then kind of expand out on our pattern or whatever and make sure that it looks good with the portals themselves, that they all go together. That's a nice one. Most of that is just netherrack anyway. This is 245.208. So 37. I said 245 minus 45 minus 8 is going to be 37. So we would have a center single block, right? Eight. And then the 19th block is the middle, and that's off these, so I was counting these. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. This is 19. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Shoot. How can that be? Well, I mean, I guess that's telling me this is even. Let's double. You guys get more counting, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Okay, so we don't go to a center block, we go to a double. That's fine, as long as we know and can kind of gauge our pattern. And we can count out where, back on this row, the portal's going to go so that it aligns. And I think we'll just figure that out. I don't think any of that's going to change too much of this. What would our 3 blocks back in be here? That might do it. I don't know. We'll look a little more, but first we want to do more graniting. Now we can go dump these again, and we should swap these boxes because they're both full. That. All right, so another 3 for the granite again. I guess while we're just chilling, hanging out, and working some of this stuff. So I watched a little bit of the Prime Wheel of Time new series. Wondering if anybody's got any thoughts or comments on that. Anybody fired up for that? Is anybody a fan of those books? And if so, do you think that so far the series has lived up to them? Personally, I don't think I've read any of Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time. I think that was most of what he wrote. It sounded like he had. I did some Wikipediaing. I'm like, it felt a little. I don't know, Buffy, if that's fair for you guys. Just maybe that the demographic was younger, and I kind of Googled that as it was getting going. Like, what's the target audience for this? And of course, there's nothing, right? Because no studio wants to say that any target, and that's fair, right? But it's kind of nice as a consumer of these products to know, like, yeah, there's going to be a lot of young figuring out emotions and that kind of stuff, or not. And I don't hold anything, particularly series like this that are fantasy science fiction kind of stuff. I don't try to hold them early on. And this is for those who don't know anything about Wheel of Time. It is a massive fantasy series, and Robert Jordan was a guy who wrote in the 70s. I think he passed away before 2010, but kind of in that. Ooh. Right here. And this is why we have goodies. Goody goods. don't have to make a trip all the way back to base. Yeah. Anyway, he was a writer, and all this is Wikipedia, so I don't know how fictionalized any of it is or anything like that. But getting started, kind of wanted to be a writer, and was like, hey, it's tough to pay the bills as a writer. You may have even had some success, but that doesn't equate to being able to, sustainably pay the rent and groceries and all that, all your other various bills. So it sounded like early on he had, he's wanting to get established and dedicate a lot of time to writing because, one of the things, especially when you're doing novels, is it's tough to just go for like 30 minutes at a time, right? You got to, maybe for like editing and reviewing and stuff like that, you can kind of work through it. But when you're actually creating story and stuff, you really benefit from being able to lose yourself in your work for extended periods. If you're feeling it and it's just flowing, there's nothing worse than, your watch alarm beeping going like, oh, you got to go be somewhere. You want to just kind of write till you're tapped out. So he, I guess, again, it's just my casual web browsing last night. He was a chess guy, and there was a mini chess boom with Bobby Fischer. However long it lasted. It lasted a few years, but it was such that when he was getting started, there was a period when somebody, some county or whatever it was, area needed a chess judge. And he worked, full-time Saturday and Sundays when people were having chess tournaments. But it didn't really fill a full-time job, but it paid him just enough that, he could continue to sell some of his like TV pilots and stuff. I guess he was doing some of that kind of writing, whatever else he was doing, but allowed him to write Monday through Friday, kind of as his daytime job, because he was making enough on Saturdays and Sundays. So just a cool way to kind of get outside the box and be able to pursue his dream in a way that was sustainable. Anyway, that was total tangent. I was just really impressed. I don't know anything about this guy really. I hadn't looked, but it sounded like a cool, kind of, I'm not going to be stopped. I need to do this, so here's how I'm going to get it done. And what a creative way to make sure that you have more time to get established without going broke. So anyway, he wrote like a dozen novels in this world, the Wheel of Time world, and it's unnamed, right? It's not like I don't know, Narnia, right? Is the world that the kids go visit in C.S. Lewis's Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe, Chronicles of Narnia stuff. There's not like a name to it, so people, I guess, just call it the Wheel World. But it, what am I going for here? Grab a few more of those. I think, if we completely fill up, we're not going to have enough room to grab all the rest of this nether rack. Our favorite corner here. Oh, that's a fun little present. Thank you, game. All right, that'll just sit in our inventory and take up a spot. So let's get all of this. Didn't leave any holes. Fall into. Very nice. Ooh. So yeah. Anyway, there's a massive amount of um, content to be made into a series, and apparently that's been very appealing as a project like this for a long time. There have been several entities that have owned rights, exploring, making miniseries or whatever over the years, and this goes back to the 80s or whatever. Um, but nothing had really materialized. I guess there was some drama, like some minor cable network maybe not existing anymore. I don't know. Um, had the rights to produce a thing, right? And so they um, had been getting nowhere with it. And usually when you do that, you get rights for like a year. I don't know what the timelines are. I don't know anything about that, but you get like a year, right? Like, hey, we want exclusive rights to develop a script for this. We're gonna need time to produce anything, like hire a cast and a producer, all that, and not only that, but have writers to give it a treatment where it's not, you can't just make a novel into a thing. You got to modify it for the screen and know what's going to get cut, what's not. And so has the oh, come on, as the wiki story goes, yeah, already working, guys. Um, apparently it wasn't it and several other early efforts. Any author is frustrated, right? You see your work that you had a lot of vision for getting pared down to fit into time slots and all that. And as a TV writer, it sounded like he was Robert Jordan was also pretty familiar with that, and it sounds like he was um, pretty receptive to having folks come in and do treatments and all that kind of stuff, and would work with them. But whatever the reason, um, this company that had rights had not done anything with them really, and they were set to expire like within the end of the week or whatever it's going to go. And like after midnight, it said on a Friday night or something, they ran a pilot on this unheard of cable network with no advertising and no plugs, but it was to just do the bare minimum to fulfill their contractual obligations to retain the rights. Like, oh, hey, yeah, we're making progress with that. Ended up in a huge lawsuits and all that, and eventually got settled, as those things often do. But yeah, they may have made a good financial thing just kind of holding it hostage. But this was all years and years and years ago. You guys can go Google it if you want to. Um, but since then, Sony actually had the rights for a while, and Amazon stepped in back in like 17 or something like that. And that shows you how much goes into creating some of these series. So Amazon jumped on board with Sony and said, "Hey, we want to partner with you. We want something on our Prime catalog." And, this all goes back to Game of Thrones. Everybody wants the next Game of Thrones um, audience catcher, since there's so much demand for that type of content right now. And I guess the rest is history. There's a lot of speculation and stuff out there that like Bezos specifically said, I want a Game of Thrones for Amazon. Um, what can we get? Well, this is going to be an attempt at that, and I thought I was pretty favorable to it. It seemed um, engaging enough. It doesn't feel like Game of Thrones at all, and I think that's one of those testaments to a really well done production. And um, either a studio or, in HBO, I don't know how they break all that out, but uh, when they're really willing to put the money into the whole package and make everything work together, to become just more than what it had been. And watching this one, and the actors and all seem great. They all seem good. I know the Rosamund Pike is kind of the headliner and the most known name among them. And as any of these series are, the um, some of the leads all start out as young adult children, kind of deal that fits into the story. And again, this is a huge epic tome that goes on and on and on and on and on, and they're already saying that they have combined parts of the books into this, into what's already out there. I don't know much about how those cuts or anything work, or what's yet to come, what they've already covered, but it just felt, to me, it's one of those. It feels like the difference of a show on Sci-Fi or the WB or one of those, as opposed to a big network show, at least historically. Now, I don't watch a lot of network TV anymore, so I don't know how those really compare, but you just kind of get the feel in. It really, for me, I was thinking about it, but like set locations and costuming, and some of those pieces are what I think really stand out as this is a fully to the nines production, and kind of becomes that movie quality affair. And movies certainly can vary in that quality too. That's not a knock on the studios that are producing either streaming or cable shows or anything like that. But I think it just goes to show some of those HBO productions have been so well done, and they deserve credit for consistently over the years producing and providing things that are just absolutely over the top, quality wise, in a production sense. I just, I think back Band of Brothers, Sopranos, even Game of Thrones, which for a fantasy, and I think this is a huge part of its success and why it appealed to such a massive audience. For one thing, let's not hide the fact that HBO definitely produces all of those things as adult content. And I don't mean that in a salacious way, but I guess it kind of becomes that. They will show skin throughout and not shy away from that. And there's, I think outside of like sorry guys, but maybe 13 to 16-year-old guy contingent, I don't think most people are really going to seek that out. But in some situations, it feels a bit corny to shy away from it when the story speaks to it, or has that. Like, going back to Game of Thrones, and sorry if you haven't, if you're totally unfamiliar with Game of Thrones, you're missing out. But and it's been a long time, so I don't know all the names. But the what's the main city? I can't even think of it. Anyway, there's one of the main characters there is the proprietor of a brothel, and hey, Deadwood and some of those HBOs not unfamiliar with this territory, but it's not going to feel very genuine if in that kind of an environment everybody's being falsely modest and chaste and all that kind of stuff. It just that's some of that realism, and that's where it comes back to the what's the target demographic. If it is targeted to that kind of high school age and demographics, then it makes sense, right? They're not gonna have all that. But again, in the very first episode, they're teasing it, not in a romantic kind of way, but it's like a shared bathtub scene between a couple of the characters, and it's everything but including the butts, right? If you know what I mean. And I just, I think in those worlds, it gets a little like, okay, you're just, you're trying too hard to, if you don't want to show any of that, then just don't put it into that situation is kind of my take, but I guess I'm an older guy. I don't care too much one way or another. And so far, I think the story feels like it's going to hold up. It also feels like it could be very contemporized compared to how it was written, and you always wonder about when the folks who produce those shows do come in and do treatments and all that, are they just pandering to the latest, and are they doing credit to the author's original work? Usually, particularly in big works like that, authors are not trying to. Well, I guess we're all different people. We all have different agendas, but I think they're trying to be a little bit above or more lasting than just the politics of the day, right? And for somebody who died back in, I don't know, '05, something like that, some of the Twitter universe type conversations, they didn't exist at that time, and I think that's one way to make things less timeless. And I think, again, one of the very strong positives to be said for Game of Thrones, it would have been very easy, and George R.R. Martin takes a lot of criticism for I guess you can't really put it too delicately. There's battlefield rapes and such that are go on, and think of Daenerys, right? She's sold off, abused by her brother, and basically sold to savages by her brother. It's just pretty tough content, but he's writing it in a way that those, if you don't just knee-jerk react and go, oh, that's awful, you can't ever talk about that kind of stuff, and oh, it's denigrating, but those characters become some of his top. Oh, I went one too far there. Top characters in the whole universe that he creates, and it's how they adapt, how those events shape them, that gets to the human condition, and that's what any author wants to write about, I think. So I don't know. It feels like it's one of those being written for a before 9 p.m. basic cable or network type audiences. And again, that's okay. It doesn't necessarily, like the Narnia movies. Those are basically kid movies. But I loved the books so much. I watched those as an adult, and yeah, they're not quite all that. And Harry Potter, another one, right? It doesn't go out of its way to be edgy or mature. It's written with the idea that the books would grow up with the reading audience, and that's amazing too. But um, you know, it would be wrong to have have screenwriters going in and making Harry Potter edgy. By including, like, oh look, Ron Weasley went off and got hooked on drugs and is I don't know, I've been watching Breaking Bad, so he's hanging out cooking meth or something like that to keep the cottage afloat. That would be totally outside the spirit of the story. I don't know enough about these stories to know how they were written or anything like that. But I hope it does justice, and I hope there's not a lot of just going out of the way to be, again, that kind of. I group it as Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and I was, not way beyond interested when that came out. But wasn't that the whole werewolves or vampires deal? I don't think there was another one, but that one dreamy boy is a bad boy werewolf, and one boy, I think that can. I was going to say infiltrate. I don't think that's the right word, though, but kind of introduce itself when the execs are sitting, breathing down, going like, well, we need to increase the audience, and we know that that shows like that really bring in a certain demographic, so why don't you spice up the teen drama, especially if this whole world is about these characters outgrowing their adolescence and then facing adult problems going forward. We'll see. It may flop, it may not even get that far. The Witcher was one. I don't know if anybody saw that. And again, I hadn't played any of the games, and that struggled in that The Witcher was trying to be a series based on a video game, and those don't ever do particularly well, especially into a series. When you start with a book and oh yeah, I guess we're on this backside. I wish we didn't fall that much further. Yep. Don't forget the holes. Were there other holes? No, I think we're good. Let's see if we can get these without falling through. So were we on the story? I don't want to really spoil it, and I think they just dropped 3 episodes to get everybody started, and then it's going to be kind of like a Black Widow or anything like that. It's going to be a weekly series, and I don't know how many episodes they have in the work. I didn't look that hard at it, but it'll be interesting to see. And a lot of those, I kind of sit on them. I'm not one to just, oh, hey, new episode of whatever dropped overnight. Gotta go watch it. Sometimes, the first Bounty Hunter was going. on Disney Plus, and everybody was talking about it. That was one I tried to stay on because otherwise it gets ruined. But to that effect, I never did get into the theater. I don't even know if it's still in there to see Dune after I'd read the book and rewatched the old movie. It's time and an expense and all that to go in when you've got platforms of stuff, and we'll see if I get to that, but I'm assuming it will be out to video on some of these other platforms fairly quickly. Not, I can always rent it from Prime or something. Okay, this is our back wall. I think this finishes our second pink, and it's probably going to leave us down to a small enough amount that we'll need to turn our attention back to getting more materials. So yeah, I hope the best for Wheel of Time. As a reader, I love to read, and Tolkien's Lord of the Rings blows everything out of the water, right? And I thought the first trilogy of movies was great. Hobbit a little less so. More and more they deviate from the original work as they're going. Of course, they had to fill out a short children's book to make 3 movies to compare with the success of the original trilogy, right? That's falling victim to your own success. There's nothing you can do to stop that. Do we even need to do this? Let's goodies. Do I have a chest up here? Would those be in goodie tools? Goodie gear? Thought I had some chests. Let's leave one. Maybe a double. Pop that. Drop that. Put in these. Gather up everything else. And then we'll head for home. Let's take one more contemplative look. So, imagine that's going to be dark, and then we'll go dark again. But now I want to check how big we're actually going to do our gateways before we continue any more of the pattern, just so it lines. I want it to somehow fit. You don't want it to be off a weird off-numbered block or something like that. That's more easy to do if you have an odd or an even in the middle. Working in from the outer edges like this, it's either going to be a central block or 2 on the sides, whichever you do. But we'll come through. So weird. Wow. Okay, this is crazy. So I said, it's Sunday. I got football games on in the background. We were just talking about all these, and I was talking about The Witcher, and I'm looking at a muted set of commercials, and I was kind of, I'm like wrapping up. There's this lady on a couch that's like obviously into some fan, I don't want to say cosplay so much as just being into, she's putting in like the dead eye contacts and all that kind of stuff. And it was for The Witcher season 2 coming to Netflix. So I guess that one didn't struggle as much as I said. or at least they're coming back with it. I thought it was um, tough to follow, even for somebody who is pretty good at appreciating the genres and tracking through characters as they get introduced. I was kind of like, it was tough for them to introduce the Witchers as they go. And since then, I watched some streamers let's play through some of the older Witcher games, so I have a better understanding of kind of what the universe is all about. But yeah, that show, and that may help it build now that they had so much to get out in the first episodes. And I guess that's why I was talking so much about Game of Thrones in comparison. Yeah, a lot of people didn't have any idea what was going on, and I have read by the time it was ending, I know I was current on, I think I'd read the books twice. That was kind of one of those rereads later. Um, and that was one that I scoffed at a buddy before the show was coming out, and it was probably the 15 the latest in the series book. He's done the history of the House Targaryen or whatever it is too. Um, but when that last novel was coming out, one of my buddies was like, "Oh yeah, I'm so excited! Oh, what do you mean you haven't read Game of Thrones? It's amazing!" And I'm like, "I don't know, dude. This is like what fantasy dragons and all that." And I read Tolkien, but I know how um, some of the rest of that genre is prone to be kind of the drugstore paperback versions, right? It's like westerns. It can be a high art, or it can just be um, kind of churn them out. Don't waste time with continuity or anything like that. Just as long as you have enough damsels in distress and spells and swords and dragons and stuff, everybody'll eat it up. And I gotta be fair. To the extent that I've ever heard of that, I've kind of just dismissed this Wheel of Time as being that kind of a series. Sometimes when you see that many titles or that big of a series, it's like, okay, they're just churning it out and out and out and out and out. And there's not a lot of depth, and I say that almost almost lovingly. One of my favorite authors growing up. I'm gonna fix some of this because there's certainly stuff we can take back downstairs. We don't need to hold all this upstairs anymore. Feathers have a box, bones have a box. I'll take the iron down. Bone meal we can leave, we may need that. Yeah, that's some good stuff. Put this away up here. I should have checked the time, but I'd like to just kind of get clean, fresh start here. If we're even appropriate to drop the episode, I don't know. If it's long, sorry. I have a feeling that not many of you guys are going to be just gripped to the action and watching end to end on these. If you are, hey, awesome. But I know just listening to me go on and on about, I enjoy some of these topics. I love reading and love talking about books, and like to think a little bit about how some of those get adapted to screen or stage or whatever. How's that? Is it true to the original work, or has it lost something or become something different? I don't know. And that's certainly fair with Game of Thrones, where I think a lot of uh, George R. R. Martin's fan base is coming to grips with the fact that he personally may never finish the trilogy, or the trilogy, the septilogy or whatever. Um, and certainly with the HBO series going forward, with kind of his outline and knowledge of kind of where he went, we got a taste of what that could look like. So in that sense, the the web TV series, whatever you want to call it, became something more than just the novels. I hope they get finished, but I don't know. At his age, if he's not feeling it, and we all have our own mortality, right? You got to look that down and understand. Hey, I don't have just. It's different looking at it when you're 20 as to when you're. I'm not sure if he's in his 70s. I think. It's like, do I want to spend the next, hundreds of hours of my remaining life bent over a computer, typing away? And sometimes you just got to get it out, I guess. And other times you're like, hey, I made it. He became incredibly wealthy because of all the success of those books. So more power to him. If he's like, hey, I got my golden years, I want to travel or enjoy hobbies, family, whatever, good for him. How has this eluded our notice? How long have we been carrying this nonsense around? Bricks. Gonna try to resist the urge to. Ooh, it is nice to have regular blackstone though. Slabs, gilded was over here. Basalt. Polished basalt. That's smooth. All do we have? Cracked, polished bricks, regular basalt, magma, obsidians around here. It's nice knowing we already have enough for our portals there without having to go take down the tower. Flesh. Hey, look at that. Okay. Did we pick up the box? I don't think so. It may even still be. Oh, yeah, all this. Come on. And these are polished blackstone. Blackstone. Now, how are we doing on time? An hour 4. All right, well, a little over, but it was good to get that wrapped up. Let us just quickly drop these boxes into place. And I don't think we have enough there to get all the way around in our single ring. Plus, we got to do the extra. So maybe in the next episode, we'll be going looking for Blackstone. Thanks so much for hanging out. If you did, go check out Wheel of Time if you have Prime, and let me know what you think. Does it look like one that's going to capture your interest and go back for more episodes, or kind of see how the fans hold up with it, and if you go back? I think I'll definitely be checking out the next couple at least. It's caught my interest, and we'll see how it goes. So you guys take care. Have a great break, and I honestly check Twitter, subscribe to see if I have any further videos today. I'm not sure, but we'll talk to you when we talk to you. Bye now. Bye now.